I'd like to show you some of the new Panasonic PTZ cameras now. This is the HE120, which is also available in black, by the way. This is the new HE60. This is the S model, which has SDI output. This is a RP50 controller, which can control both of these cameras. So I can select a camera and use this joystick here to control it. And also, you can control either of these cameras because they have IP control from a computer, a laptop or Mac or PC, and with some new software with an iPad as well. So let me take you through some of the features of these cameras. The HE120 here uses a 3 MOS chip, so it's actually using the same sensor that's in the HBX250, the camera that's actually recording this. So it's a broadcast quality sensor. It has a 20 times zoom lens, which works from about 32 millimeters to about 616 millimeters, so a terrific zoom range. And because it's a 3 MOS camera, because it has three different color sensors, the image rendering is at a very high quality, and it's a native 1920-1080 block on this camera as well. So pretty much a broadcast quality PTZ camera. And as you can see, it can be controlled from an RP50 controller like this, or there are also some higher end Panasonic controllers with more subtle features, which I'll talk about when I go into the controller in more detail. But it can also be controlled from a laptop interface. At the moment, I'm controlling the HE60 camera from my laptop, and I'll explain why in a moment. So this is the HE60. So it's slightly different. It has a single chip, a single 3/8" sensor, whereas this is 3 3/8" sensors. Has an 18 times zoom range, but as you can see, it's a smaller form factor as well, so a little more discreet. When you move a HE120, it's pretty obvious what's going on, whereas if I select my HE60, you can see it's a little more subtle in terms of motion. It doesn't attract the eye quite so much. But the image quality won't be, and the low light performance isn't quite up to what it will be with the HE120. Oh, first of all, I should show you the connectivity on the back of the camera. And on the HE120, we have SDI and simultaneous HDMI output. And we have both a terminal for controlling it via standard network, so I'm plugged into a router which is connected to this and my laptop, but it could also have RS422 control from older model PTZ controllers. They're called PTZ cameras, by the way. PTZ stands for Pan, Tilt and Zoom. It's not very strange, sorry, it's not very complicated, it's just a remote camera which you can totally control over the interface. From this controller, you don't just control the movement, the left, right, up, down, zoom in and out. You can also control the camera features like iris, shutter speed, and both these can have a paint effect, so you can subtly amend the green, the red and blue levels to match cameras remotely. So it's like having a full CCU as well as a full PTZ controller. You can also use an on-screen display which you can bring up on the camera so you can see what settings you're controlling. Makes it easier to navigate the menus than just using the RP50 controller alone. But if you're using a laptop to control one of these cameras, with the HE60, as you can see here, you also get a on-screen picture, so a video over IP connection. It's lower resolution than you'll get through the SDI output this camera also has, but it's very useful for monitoring. When you're just adjusting the camera, it can mean you can be using the SDI output to record locally with the camera and yet monitor it over a network, which is an interesting feature we've started to use to make these PTZ cameras totally wireless in operation. By using some Intratec kit, which I think we've shown you in previous episodes, we're able to power the HE120 or the HE60 from a Pelly's case-sized Wi-Fi unit and have a remote camera like this, which is sending the pictures back wirelessly and also being controlled wirelessly. So you can be 100 meters away and send perfect HD SDI back using a Teradek bolt from either this camera or this camera, and use totally remote control over them using either the laptop or using an RP50 controller like this. This is going to give some interesting possibilities. It's not always possible to put a cameraman in dangerous places up high in a tree or somewhere like that. But obviously a camera like this, it could be placed there carefully and then left there for a whole day running off a V-lock battery. So some interesting possibilities for remote PTZ cameras using new wireless technology. So back to the HE120 and the HE60. The HE60 has some interesting features which aren't on the HE120. So first of all, there's the monitoring over IP, which the 120 doesn't have, but it also has the ability to remove the infrared filter. There's an optical infrared filter which clicks in and out, so you can choose a daytime or nighttime mode. So we're able to use this camera in total darkness just using infrared lights. So there are some interesting wildlife or perhaps scary reality TV possibilities for using the infrared mode on the HE60 camcorder. Now the HE120 doesn't have an infrared mode, but it does have very useful neutral density filters. There's 3-position neutral density filters like you'd find on a traditional camcorder, and this makes it very useful for filming in difficult to control lighting situations. If you've got bright window light or if the lighting is very changeable, we can dial up the optical neutral density filters just by remote, and you can hear the filters click in over the top. So all the cameras can be pre-programmed with up to 100 presets in terms of position, zoom, focus, iris. So just by clicking position 2 here, it will find its predefined position. We can go to 3, position 4, position 5, and as I say, you can have up to 100 of these positions built into the camera. The memory settings are remembered inside the camera rather than inside the controller. So the same memory settings will be accessible from the PC, from a laptop controller, or from an iPad controller, as they are from this controller. And you might also notice that I've both got, or with the HE60 camera, I've got control from both the RP50, or I can take control from my laptop to control it as well. So you can have multiple controllers on a network, and so you could move from room to room to control it from different places. So that's an overview of the Panasonic PTZ series, the HE120, the HE60 and the RP50 controller.